Welcome and thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Beyond 50 radio program. I'm Daniel Davis. For many people out there who have decided to leave the corporate world and all the constraints that seem to go along with it, there is the opportunity that most people like to pursue known as network marketing. Network marketing offers an opportunity which people can be able to work whenever, wherever, and with whomever they want to, which liberates them from that very thing of being constrained. But one of the biggest challenges that a lot of people face is how they can maximize the time of developing new business contacts while at the same time expanding business and dealing with everyday details such as organizing events and scheduling, which these things can actually sap an entrepreneur's resources and limit their growth. On the program today, we're joined with author of the book, Honey, You Got This. It's where she shares technology made easy for network marketers. I'd like to welcome to the Beyond 50 radio program today our guest, Jennifer Turnage. Jennifer, thank you for being on the program today.
Well, thank you for having me today.
Now, this is a pretty exciting thing because I know one of the biggest things that a lot of people face when it comes to network marketing is how to manage their time without getting all tangled up in the details that really don't produce the kind of results that they would like to have. And especially in today's role with technology such as social media, you can find yourself kind of navigating down a labyrinth where you can go down that rabbit hole and never return. Tell us about your background a little bit and give people an idea of what it is you do.
I'll be happy to. So I am a native of North Carolina and went to college for a business degree and then joined PricewaterhouseCoopers. So I started out my career with one of the largest accounting firms in the world, a big corporation, but was fortunate enough to be able to work with a lot of technology companies. So after about 10 years, I left PricewaterhouseCoopers to be the chief financial officer of a software company. And that's where I really began my career in technology, working with small companies as we came up with ideas, would raise capital, grow those companies, and then eventually sell them and do it all over again. So I was an entrepreneur, kind of trapped in the technology industry, but learned so much there about how technology can solve everyday problems in all sizes of business. So when I found myself kind of leaving the corporate world and starting my own network marketing company, of course I was looking for that same technology. And when I couldn't find quite what was right, I got together with one of my former coworkers and we decided to create those tools and then share that information with other entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and other network marketers.
Now, right in your book, right off the bat, I think you lead into an arena where a lot of people really struggle. It's almost like that trap right at the beginning, and that is they like to wait until they have the right budget. They wait till they have the right office space, the right equipment. Usually the word that floats through most people's heads is, I need the best of these things to be the most effective. But the fact is, what you need to do is just get started. Let's talk about that, for instance. Yeah, because a lot of people do. They think having the best of things is going to make them a lot more effective. And the fact is, you could spend forever trying to get that best of before you ever get started. And that really, in a lot of ways is a useless action. You want to start taking action with whatever you have. Let's go ahead and give some clarity about that.
Yes, and the way I distinguish these activities is to really think about, are you working in your business or are you working on your business? And the distinction is that when you're working in your business, you are doing income-producing activities. So that generally involves talking to prospects and talking to your customers, talking to people, getting the word out, and having those conversations about your business, the service, the products that you're trying to sell. And because that rabbit hole you mentioned is the working on your business. And those are things like, it can be anything from setting up your email to trying to create the perfect marketing site or the perfect business card, or just sitting there thinking about what you would say to someone. When the best thing that you can do is to go back into that mindset of working in your business and just pick up the phone and call someone. or send that email, send that text, send that Facebook message, reach out to someone. Because really, until you have customers that are paying you something, you don't have a business. You have an idea. And you need to get out of that idea phase into the action phase and start generating revenue.
Now, in your experience, why is it people like to get tangled? Well, I shouldn't say like to. Nobody likes anything that doesn't have the kind of outcome that they would like to have. But what is it that tangles people up there at that particular step? What do you think the thinking is there?
Well, I think there's several things going on. And as an entrepreneur, and particularly when you're starting out, you want to control as much as you can. So you feel like there's so much that's outside of your control. You may focus on things that you can control. Those are going to be very short-term things. Some of these may need to be done, but again, they may not be the most important use of your time at that point. You really need to think bigger and think about, where can I have an impact? Who am I going to serve? How do I find those people? And sometimes we hesitate to share those ideas and I think get caught up in that perfectionism when we're afraid of rejection or we're afraid of what someone might think about us. And I think as an entrepreneur, you have to learn to love to be challenged and to love to hear the word no, because it's giving you feedback and you're learning from that, and it helps you continue the conversation. So you have to overcome those fears of thinking you have to have it all together, you have to have it all right. Nobody does. You have to just get out there and take action.
That's for sure, and I know a lot of people hear that, and I think you hit it, accurately, is the idea of the fear of how the rejection tends to make people feel. And, what you really need to do is get out there and let that happen quite a bit so you realize, well, this is just part of the process.
It is. It's usually not personal. You don't know what's going on in other people's lives. You're asking
right.
questions to find out what they need, but don't take it personally. Just learn from it and move on.
Now, the next step that you share in your book is another activity that people can tend to get really caught up in and feel kind of ensnared, and gives them the illusion they're taking action, that they're making progress, and that is building and maintaining their contact list. Now, first of all, if you could, go over ways people, through this new technology in this world, how you went about identifying good ways to find leads, but other than that, also building the list and maintaining it the right way so that people are effective.
I think that when I looked at starting my business, and even previous businesses, I think the natural place to start is, who are the people you already know? And maybe they would be interested in your product or your service. If not, they may be willing to give you feedback on how you approach them, or they may be able to provide introductions to other people. So I always start with my existing network, and that comes from often my emails. It comes from my LinkedIn network, Facebook, some social media, and then also just thinking about the people that you come across in different organizations in your everyday life. But when you want to scale this rapidly, you can very easily go to LinkedIn or Facebook and export your contacts into an Excel file. And that can be the beginnings of your list, and you can do that very, very quickly and easily.
Now, getting into the technology side, social media certainly seems to be one of those activities where it sort of has the illusion that you could just put something out there and people just come stampeding in your direction. But that also becomes its own crazy little trap in a way too, because as you get on there and you start looking into whether it's your Facebook page, your Twitter page, whatever medium you decide to use, you can find yourself getting caught up in hours of time-wasting activity.
Yes. And I think in terms of social media, particularly Facebook, you have to be intentional with your time. And I even will control that sometimes with using a timer on my phone. As I might say, I'm going to spend 15 minutes on Facebook just to catch up with what's going on with the people in my world, and then I'm going to stop. Because you're right, otherwise you might find yourself 2 hours later, you're still on Facebook. And from a business purpose, I always approach it thinking about what is my intention if I'm going to make a post? What is it that I'm trying to communicate? What activity am I trying to drive? But really, when you think about how productive you are during the day, really those activities need to lead to a conversation. Now, maybe it's in Facebook Messenger, maybe it's in text, maybe it's face-to-face. It doesn't really matter how that happens, but you want those activities to lead to conversations. And if that's not happening, then you should look at your time and look at your activities and see if you really are driving that sort of behavior.
Now, what have you found to be a way to create effective activity using social media platforms? You know, for instance, how you put messages out there, building followers, for instance, that are interested in what it is that you have to offer.
I think the first thing is to think about the audience that you want to attract and where are they. So you want to be on the right platform to find the demographic that you're looking for. And once you do that, it's then you think about why are people on that platform. Usually they're looking to be entertained. Maybe they want to learn something. Maybe it's to connect with people. So think about your activities on that platform, and are you aligned to deliver value that people are looking for? In a way that you may see that in network marketing, for example, is people generally don't go to Facebook to shop. But they may be interested in learning something or learning what their friends recommend, learning what's working for them. So sharing things like results may attract more interest than just having a post that looks just like an advertisement. So thinking about which platform you're engaged with and really what activity are you trying to drive from your post? Being very intentional.
You know, Jennifer, there is a newsletter that I like to get every Monday. It's called the Monday Morning Memo. It's from a marketing expert who actually has a course, actually a university, if you will, down in Texas called the Wizard of Ads Academy. And I've been getting this for several years now, and he's a lot of fun to read what he writes in his memo, and it talks a lot about some of the things that we're talking about here today. And he had posted a particular newsletter on social media and why he found it cost-wise to be less effective than traditional means, such as television, radio, and print, for getting the new leads and the customers that you're looking for. What he said actually made a lot of sense. And he says, with social media, people are allowed to be able to get an account for free. You know, this is their space. For instance, we'll use Facebook in this example. And so when they get this free account, this is their place where they get to connect with people they know of and build, continue their relationships online, to be able to connect messages, share what's going on in their world while getting to enjoy what's going on in the world of the relationships they have. And he says, so when you come in there, especially if you tend to be somebody who has a business and you're trying to get in there and market, you're basically invading this person's space without their permission. Now, the difference between that, for instance, and television is we've come to accept that when we turn on the TV, for instance, and we watch our favorite show, we get to do that for free, but we know the price to pay is we have to endure the commercials. That's just the way it is. But in social media, it becomes almost taboo for that very thing to happen. What are your thoughts on something like that in line with what we're talking about today?
I think it's very true. I would completely agree with that theory. And again, it really comes back to the idea of when you're on a social media platform, why are people there? And are you meeting that need or not? Because, I mean, if you're not providing content that is what people are looking for, then they are not going to engage in it. And as you said, they'll tune you out, and you're wasting your efforts. And so anytime you can move to an area that has kind of a pre-qualified group, so to speak, so it's people that you know are interested in your content or the information you have to share, that's always going to be a better quality lead and be more cost effective.
Now, when it comes to posting, what kind of suggestions would you like to make to the people who are listening today when it comes to being able to do this and actually maybe gain some attention and how all that works?
I think there are a lot of experts that focus entirely on social media, and they will even focus on one platform. So I think my advice there has always been to find out which platform is right for you, pick one to start, and go look at those experts and learn from those experts, because possibly what may work for you on Instagram may not be the same thing that's going to work for you on Facebook. If your audience is more a demographic for even Snapchat, that's going to be different than what you would post on LinkedIn. So I can't say there is a certain magic recipe that works on any platform, but I think it all comes down to, at its core, are you providing something that is useful? So again, did you educate someone? Did you entertain them? Did you fulfill some sort of need they had when they came to that social media site? If you approach from an attitude of sharing rather than trying to pull something from someone, you will always be more effective.
What have been some of your favorite social media platforms to use, and how had you gone about using them effectively?
Probably the one I have used the longest is actually LinkedIn. And in some ways, I think that's best described as Facebook for business. So when you're connecting with people on LinkedIn, they're much more open to connecting with someone who maybe they don't know personally, but they see that you have some second-degree connections. So you're somewhere in their sphere of influence, even if you haven't met. And it's much easier to have business conversations because, again, people are there to network for business reasons. So as I was growing businesses and as an entrepreneur, LinkedIn was always kind of top of my list. But then more from a personal standpoint, I enjoy Facebook. That's where I keep up with family and friends, what's going on in their lives, and then also Instagram. So I think those are my top three: LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram.
Now, let's talk about some of the tools that you talk about in the book, and I know one of them happens to be maybe a mobile phone versus just a computer. So let's talk about some of the tools that can keep people mobile, because I know one of the big things that you hear, especially for CEOs or leaders in network marketing, is they seem to discourage recruiting online, maybe. And they try to encourage more face-to-face marketing. So let's talk about that for a minute and how people can be more effective in that arena.
So one thing that we've learned with our software application is that more and more people work entirely from a mobile phone. They're running entire businesses just from a mobile phone. So currently with our My Beehive app, we have about 3/4 of all usage is coming from mobile phones. And when you think about it, your mobile phone is something you always have with you. It doesn't represent necessarily business time or personal time. You take it with you wherever you go. So if your business is about personal relationships, and that's how I view network marketing, you want to keep those contacts available. You want to be able to access that from your phone. And even beyond that is, let's say you're sitting at a coffee shop and you have 15 minutes between appointments. Wouldn't it be nice to know and be able to just open an app on your phone that shows you who are all of your prospects, and you can actually reach out to them right then and there from your phone? I think that is the biggest change I've seen kind of in small businesses in the past few years, is being able to run your entire business from your mobile phone.
There's just so much to consider here, but again, keeping it simple is what people should be doing. And I like that you have little blocks in here that say, for instance, what I need to do, when, and when it's done, sort of a thing. And keeping it all simple. How have you seen people actually, build momentum, I guess, from the suggestions that you have here in your book?
I think the main thing is that people like to have what I would call a to-do list in the morning. The less you have to spend your time thinking about what to do next, the more time you spend, again, in those income-producing activities. So we like having a system that shows you what are those activities that you need to take every day. Whether it's someone you want to reach out to for the first time, maybe it's someone you talked to last month and you needed to remember, oh, they're going to be back from vacation, they want to talk again next Monday. Well, that next Monday, you want to have that pop up on your phone and tell you that you need to call that person. So anything that you can do to stay organized so you're not spending your time getting ready to work, and instead you jump right into those income-producing activities.
Now, one of the chapters I really enjoyed reading here in your book, Honey, You Got This, is when you talk about collaborating and sharing information. And I remember back in the 1980s, long before we had the kind of technology that we have available today, you would see people putting up signs on telephone poles. If you want this opportunity for this, here's the number. And somebody would inevitably run around with a box knife and cut off, if not the whole number, at least half of it so nobody could actually get the number. I'm thinking, okay, here's somebody running around with a box knife thinking that they need to have all the activity for that area. And I'm thinking, it's impossible for that person to manage all this. So you would see, you could see obviously what was going on there. And you're talking in your book about collaborate and actually sharing information. What do you mean by that exactly?
So in terms of the book, when we're thinking about collaborating and sharing information, that could be information that you want to share with your prospects, your customers, or in network marketing, even your team members. So let's say you're talking to someone about your product or service. You may want to send them follow-up information. What's the easiest way to get that information to them? Maybe you're working with a group of people and you need to gather information back. Maybe you're trying to populate information in a database. Maybe you're trying to just find a good time that everyone can meet and what's a good location. So sometimes we're pushing information out, but sometimes we are collaborating and trying to get information going back and forth. And I think we've all been on very long email threads or possibly even some group text messages where this is trying to happen and it's frustrating for everyone involved. So one of our favorite tools that we recommend is Google Drive, and that's a free way that you can share information with people electronically by just uploading, say, your commonly used documents. And then all you have to do is send them a link and they can access that. Or maybe fill out a form to gather information that you need. And that works well, again, it's a prospect, a customer, a team member. Anytime you want to share information from a common source, there's some great online tools that are free that enable you to do that. And we recommend that all the time. No one wants to carry around a lot of brochures and a lot of paper these days. Mm-hmm. Again, what can you do from your phone? In Google Drive, you can share all that information from your phone.
Now, what about when it comes to planning events? Nowadays, what people can actually do is do video casts. So have you found that to be better than, going to, say, a meeting space?
I'm definitely seeing a lot more virtual events. And those may be happening in, say, video conferencing systems, or more and more often we're seeing them with a Facebook Live broadcast, possibly Facebook events. And there's some great tools. One of my favorite ones is called SynchShare. And SynchShare will allow you to pre-schedule your event posts. So if you want to have posts going on, say, every few minutes in an online party, you can have those scheduled. So you as the host are then able to spend your time and attention interacting with your guests. So it's like having a virtual assistant for all of your parties to take care of everything that has to happen at a certain time, all that's scheduled out in advance, so you just sit back and engage with your guests. And we're seeing a lot more activity in network marketing that are more the virtual events. Face-to-face is always, always wonderful. I'm a face-to-face person myself, but you can't always do that. You're talking to people in multiple countries often, and virtual events is just a great way to get everyone together. It's kind of a minimum time commitment for your guests and allows you to share a lot of information in a very short period of time.
Now, certainly not last but not least is the fact that people need to do one thing that has actually, I know, become very easy, and that's managing your finances and tracking your numbers, things like that. Let's talk about what's available out there and why that's important to do that.
Yes. So when it comes down to it, most people start a business to generate a profit. They want to earn money. And having grown up as an accountant in my profession, I've learned the value of using the numbers in your business to really paint a picture and see a story. You don't want to get caught up in the weeds, but you need to know what activities are profitable for you so you can understand where to invest your time and your resources. And particularly if you're in sales, you need to know, for example, if you have a certain income goal, how many sales that converts to in a month, and then you back into, well, if I want, say, 10 sales this month, I need to talk to 100 people. And then you can look at that and say, well, if I want to talk to 100 people this month, how many is that going to be per week and per day? So that way you can see a path to achieve your goals. So numbers don't have to always be necessarily what maybe I learned in accounting school, but it's what's the data that drives your business and what are the numbers that you can impact to increase your profit. Those are the things that you want to know on an ongoing basis about your business. And at the end of the year, you need the information to provide your tax preparer to make sure that you're maximizing your income tax deductions. I think one of the strong benefits of having your own business is the opportunity to deduct your business expenses, but you have to track those to be able to take credit for them. So that's where an accounting system may come into play. That could be something as simple as a checkbook register. It could be an Excel file, or it could be something like QuickBooks. But at the end of the day, it comes back to what are those income-producing activities that you need to do every single day to drive your revenue and your profit for the month, and making sure that you have a way that you know every single day you're doing the right activities to drive you towards that profit goal.
Well, this has all definitely been eye-opening, and you can see how, in participating and also reading your book, how people can begin to really see how they can streamline this whole process so all the activities they have are actually effective, that lead them to what it is that they're doing this whole thing in the first place for, which is building a business and trying to work toward financial freedom. Do you have any closing thoughts for our listeners out there that they might want to take away from today's conversation?
My main thought is to not let the thought of technology intimidate you, to embrace it as a way to save time and to offload some of the repetitive tasks or the less productive tasks that you're doing. So embrace it as a solution to a problem, not something to be feared. And I think the best way to do that is to learn. So example, this conversation may have opened your eyes a little bit to something new that you'd like to learn more about. And that's really what we're trying to do in the MyBeehive community and in the MyBeehive app. So if that's something that is of interest, definitely follow us on social media and check out the Honey You Got This book on Amazon.
Well, very good. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us here on the Beyond 50 radio program. For those of you who are just tuning in, the book is Honey, You Got This. It's Technology Made Easy for Network Marketers. Our guest, Jennifer Turnage. Is there a website people can go and visit you and maybe get some information or advice, things like that?
Yes, absolutely. So our website is www.mybeehive.com, and that is spelled MYBEEHYVE. So My Beehive, Hive spelled with a Y. You can follow us there. Also find us on Facebook and other social media channels. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm Jennifer Turnage, and my last name is spelled Turnage.
Well, very good. Jennifer, thank you so much for being on the program today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Right on. We want to thank you, the listeners out there, for joining us. You can also discover more at beyond50radio.com. We do encourage you to sign up for our weekly e-newsletter and keep up to date with what's going on in the world of Beyond 50 as well as upcoming programs. I'm Daniel Davis. Thank you for joining us. This is the Beyond 50 radio program, and remember, live your day past halfway.